Promise that you sing about me forever. Promise that you sing about me forever. Promise that you sing about me forever.
Did you like the intro? I did something different with this channel. On both of my channels, actually, I changed the intro. I just wanted to just give it a little revamp and a little remix to popular songs, so you might recognize the song. I hope you like it. As you know, I am a author to be, and actually, I am an author. I released my book, Memoirs of a Forgotten Child, on February 14th, Valentine's Day, and I hope you had a great Valentine's Day. And to find out more information on it and to purchase the book, I'll leave all that information below. So all you would need to do is go to VieIsme.com, vieisme.com, and that's where you will find everything about Memoirs of a Forgotten Child and also what I've been up to. I do daily blogs, so it would be in the blog section. I also do YouTube videos, so it would be in the YouTube videos. And for the book, you can either go to the book, which details what's inside the book and the reason of it coming into existence. And if you already know all that because you watched all my YouTube videos, then you would go to the store tab. And at the store tab is the back cover and the front cover together. And you would just click. The miniature version of the book, and then you would get to the book page. And then you get to the cart, and all you gotta do is click add cart and proceed from there. Enjoy, and I hope you buy it. Today's video is going to be about the controversy that's going on in Brazil with the Carnival queen, Nayara, Justino, and she's gorgeous. She's very beautiful, very fit, and her getting the crown of Globaliza. I'm not sure if I pronounced it right. I probably didn't. Globaliza, and she won the award. She won the status of being Carnival Queen, but typically when it comes to Globaliza, it's a light-skinned person. It's a mulatto, and she was very dark-skinned. And she won because of her performance in her audition, but once it came out that she would be the figure of the Globaliza, people looked at her funny, and people actually came out their way to just say she shouldn't be there because she doesn't fit the typical image of beauty. And she was very disheartened by it, but she continued. She performed for the carnival, and then after she performed, the carnival heads or directors or whatnot pulled her card and said, you know, you're not going to be queen anymore, you're not going to be crowned. So she got dethroned from being the Carnival queen. I'll leave that information in that article below, because when I saw the video clip about her experiencing colorism and her interpretation of it and how it made her feel and the dynamics in Brazil, honestly, I wasn't that shocked. I saw a documentary years back about this black ballerina breaking into ballerina in Brazil, and she was great at what she does. She was beautiful, but they were like, oh, you need to be white to be a ballerina. And basically she didn't get to where she wanted to be, but she ended up opening her own ballerina business. And it's the same thing I see here with this article. When I saw the video clip, I did feel for her. I mean, I'm black. I feel for her that she was chosen and then snatched her reputation, her goal, because she didn't fit the color. She didn't look the right type. And I'm not really that shocked because Brazil has a very colorism society, and it's usually white at the top, middle are the light skin and mulattoes, and at the bottom are blacks, and blacks are treated horribly. And fun fact for anybody who's interested, after World War II and the whole Nazi era, a lot of Nazis went to Brazil, and Brazil has the largest black population outside of Africa. So just because there's a lot of black people, that does not mean white people are scared of black people, and it doesn't mean that they won't go to the population. It just means that they're just going to continue white supremacy. And I see it with not only in Brazil, it's the same way here. Here in America, black people practice colorism. There was the paper bag test, there was the blue vein test, there was all types of qualifications that a black person had to meet. And if they didn't, due to color, due to pigmentation, if they were too dark, quote unquote too dark, they weren't allowed in. And it was for jobs, fraternities, black sororities, black schools. So it wasn't necessarily white people, it was black people doing it to other black people. And still to this day, there's certain things that are colorism. You see team light skin, team dark skin, you see all these little nitpicks with each other. That really doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we're all black and we're all being oppressed. So it doesn't matter these little teams and all this other childish behavior. Now, like I said, I had much sympathy when I heard her story, but however, towards the end, she revealed that she's in a relationship with this European looking man. He could be Portuguese, he could be just a white Brazilian, and she was engaged to him. And I was like, And the reason why I said, because she's a beautiful dark-skinned woman, and she experienced racism, she experienced colorism, yet she's slowly siding and slowly slipping to the side of justifying that colorism. And I will pinpoint the points I put in my phone about why I feel like she unconsciously is kind of co-signing the colorism by being with this European man. Oh, and for y'all who don't know what Carnival is, I am Haitian, so I know what Carnival is. Carnival is an experience like no other. I guess it'd be like whatever team that you go for during the championships, like the NFL or the Super Bowl. Well, the Super Bowl or the NBA finals. It'd be like the same thing, but better. It's in South America and it's in the Caribbean, and it's basically a time, it's usually during the beginning of the year where each country represents their culture. And a lot of the culture is represented by three groups of people. It's the native people who were here before white supremacy and colonization. You embrace their culture and what they were to the islands. And you mix that with the Africans who brought their own culture, and some of it has to do with European culture too. So it's a mixture of those cultures. It's women who embrace their body, who embrace themselves, a lot of bright colors, a lot of feathers, a lot of music, floats, food. It's a big celebration in the streets, and it would be like Mardi Gras. If anything, it'd be like Mardi Gras, but a whole lot of customs, a whole lot of flavor, a whole lot of body exposure, because it's free. You will see a whole lot of tatas, a lot of derriere, and it's just a great experience. Like I said, it's mostly South America and the Caribbean, but I do know other countries outside of the Caribbean in South America who does something like Carnival, but the way, you know, us do it is different. I also know the US has Carnival, and I know Canada does too. I know, like here in Massachusetts, there's one in Cambridge and there's one in Boston, and that's like around August, late August, early September, and it's all natives from the Caribbean and South America. We do the same things that are in the street, and you will see tatas and derrieres, and the cops will be there just to make sure everybody just don't act a fool and do what they're supposed to do, and people enjoy each other. People have a great time. So that's what Carnival typically is. And I don't know if it's like the same way in Canada. I perceive it to be the same way, but I'm not sure because I'm not Canadian or been to Canada. So she was the first dark-skinned black Carnival queen for the Globaliza.
Hopefully I'm saying it right, but I'm not, and
the title was snatched from her. And when I saw her with the white guy she's engaged to, don't get me wrong, I don't really care if you swirl. If that's your thing, that's your thing. I can't really say yay or nay about it. It's not me. But it did bring a question, well, several questions into mind, because she's totally oblivious to what the future will hold for her. And I will detail what I mean by that. Her problem is white supremacy and colorism. Her problem is white supremacy because it's white people who control the Globaliza, and they're the ones who position people to be in certain places. They're the one who makes the judgments, who probably organize the whole thing. And they're the ones who are picking a certain image. And they are the ones who pick what's closer to them, what is deemed acceptable, appropriate, pretty, and it's white or light skin. When you think of Brazil, you don't think about dark-skinned black people. I didn't. Recently, I found out black people are in Brazil. When I thought of black people in Brazil, I didn't know that they were dark skinned. I thought they were just like racially ambiguous, and come to find out that's not it. I was shocked. And that's the image. When you think of Brazil, you probably think of Giselle. You don't think of someone who would look like me or someone who looked like Lupita. You don't think of things like that. So now she's going to marry this white man. I presume that she's going to have kids by this white man. And she's probably going to have a daughter who is a mulatto. And she will be subconsciously co-signing the rule of thumb of being white, being biracial, being a mulatto is the standard, because she went out and produced a mulatto. So her mulatto child is now going to be some dark-skinned girl like her, hang up, and her daughter will be chosen not because she's the best or the brightest or the more anything, just for the simple fact that she's light-skinned. So now she just created the problem to her problem for somebody else. And she didn't necessarily, I don't think she realized it. I don't think she understands that. And a lot of people who do swirl, especially when they have colorism complex, they don't realize what they are putting in for the future. They don't know what seeds they're planting. She'll end up being idly sitting there and watching her daughter play out her life. But now she's on the other side, her daughter's mulatto side, but she's having a secondhand experience. So now she's looking at it from how her daughter sees it and how her daughter is accepted, but she from firsthand experience is going to understand and relate to the dark-skinned girl who doesn't get chosen just because she's dark-skinned. Now, I'm not saying she doesn't like the white guy. I'm not saying that she is trying to scheme off the white guy, but I do believe being with that white guy is a part of the colorism complex. I do believe that because it's a part of Brazilian culture. She even made note of it. Even in the video, they talked about how in Brazil, it's a custom to improve the race. And what that means is whitewashing the race. It means procreate with a Portuguese or a white Brazilian to wash away your blackness. That's how you advance, is by diluting your blackness. So I do believe with that being the culture, with that having white supremacy and colorism, her choosing that white guy wasn't just by accident. It wasn't just we fell in love. I do think it was a purpose choice. With that decision, her being with that white guy, it justified the reason why they who run the Beleza chose to go with light skin and light skin as the preferred skin color, because she herself justified it by being with a white guy, going to marry a white guy, going to produce children with this white guy who are going to be mulatto and who are going to be deemed as good, but her herself isn't. And I do think a lot of people who do swirl don't think about the repercussions of white supremacy. People don't think about how their child can be used as tools for the white supremacy, that they are the difference between the Negroes and access to white society. And white society, who does have the power, who does have the influence, who does have the wealth, can intervene and use mulattoes as a puppet to oppress darker skinned black people, or to give them slight benefits to believe that they are better than their darker skinned brothers and sisters. And you see this, especially with history, how that went. Not only the slave nigga versus the house niggas, even with, I said, fraternities and sororities, where it was light skin you're in, dark skin you're out. And those were run by black people who had this mentality. And still to this day, I mean, not to go back and silly Beyonce formation, but she did say mix that Creole with that Bama. And in Louisiana, especially in the South, it is very prevalent to keep on saying yellow bone, red bone, Creole, words that shouldn't even be spoken in 2016, words that need to be deaded, words that are meant for a certain era and time of oppression, outright bold, overt oppression. You still hear them today, especially in rap music. You hear it all the time. Black people have a big fetishism when it comes to colorism. And it's by choice now, because before, black people could be like, well, it was a choice because you needed that protection, you needed, because you were able to have a better life, you were able to maneuver, people would treat you better, you had certain access to certain things. Now in 2016, you see there's no access to certain things. You black, you just outcasted. So that doesn't even make sense. But still to this day, you see black people hold near and dear white supremacy, especially when it comes to colorism. But I do feel like swirling, in her case, where it's a darker skinned person who gets with a lighter skinned person who experiences racism and colorism. It's a side effect of white supremacy. A couple hours later, I was thinking about it. I'm like, will she adorn her child because her child is her child? Or will she adore her child because the child came out with light skin and good hair and light eyes, the typical attributes to light-skinned people or mixed people, which not all the time they come out light-skinned, not all the time they come out with quote-unquote good hair, not all the time they come out with light eyes, but usually when people think of mixed people, especially black and white, they think of, oh, this person's going to be like Rihanna, even though Rihanna has 2 black parents, but you know, racially ambiguous to a certain degree, light eyes, hair that's long, flowy, loose curled, and so on and so forth. In the back of my mind, I'm like, is she thanking God that she made that decision, that she got with a white guy who she's going to marry and have kids with? Is that something that she is happy for, that maybe now she could achieve being successful and being appreciated, not because of her being a black woman and fully aware of it, conscious of it, and embrace it, but through her daughter, through her biracial daughter? Is she looking at her blackness as a curse? Is she looking at it as a permanent stain that she was able to wash away through interracial relations? Maybe I'm looking too deep into it. Maybe I'm going too far. Maybe that wasn't even the point, and why did I go into making it about her and colorism? I should have just stuck to the whole Brazil Globaliza thing, and I should have just, maybe. But I do tend to think deeper, and I do think to explore and go outside of the box, and I wanted to talk about that. And hopefully I'm wrong, but I'm probably not. I'm not going to lie to you, probably not. Especially when it comes to black people and colorism, I'm probably not. She represented herself well, but I do feel like on the other aspects of her being decrowned and her being deemed too dark to be Carnival Queen, I do think her decision to date outside of her race is because of the pressure of not being black, not being too black, finding your niche. I mean, you can be white, but don't ever be too dark, and the expectation for you to marry outside of your race, to lighten up your race, and to lighten up your race means to be of a lighter skin, is to be not black, is to be white acceptable, is the common view. And to be honest, globally, it is a common view amongst black people. And I know some people might look at this video and be like, what do you mean lighten up the race? Like, we as black people in America don't really think like that. And I'm like, on some aspects we do, but in different cultures, race tends to be nationality, not as, you know, Mongoloid or Caucasian and Negroid. It tends to be more so of your nationality. So I kind of wanted to make that clarification, because I know as Haitians we do use the term race too, and we're not necessarily talking about all black people, we're just talking about Haitians. And it seems to be like that with other groups of people. When they say our race, they don't mean as a collective, they just mean their nationality. But Brazil has a long way to go, especially when it comes to police brutality. A lot of blacks live in shanty towns. A lot of blacks are mistreated, are poor, are treated less than animals in Brazil. And the Brazil police force is no joke. So I think Brazil has a long way to come, just like in the US and other countries that have black people. The race relations needs to be amended, and I think there needs to be an open dialogue when it comes to colorism. And hopefully that can be mended, because I don't think you should be dethroned because you're quote unquote too dark. I don't feel like there's anything wrong with blackness. I love my blackness. I like blackness in general. From as dark as you are to as light as you are. If you're black, you claim black, I claim you. There's just love. But I do think black people need to be honest about their colorism and get over that. But I don't think black people will fully get over it if we're still living in a system of white supremacy. And I think it's up to black people to dethrone white supremacy. So tell me what you think in the comments below. Have you been to Carnival? Do you like Carnival? What part of the planet are you from? And what is your Carnival like? Do you see colorism in Carnival? Because I also seen an article about Trinidad and how they portray lighter skinned black people, not even like mulatto, but like Mariah Carey, Logic, On that side, it's like white or damn near white, and they promote that in Trinidad. I don't know if you're Trinidadian, if you're going to watch this and pass this over to a Trinidadian person. Like, does this happen in Trinidad? Do you see this in Carnival now that it's getting so bright and they're not representing the people accurately? And what do you think about that? What do you think about the system of white supremacy? Are you shocked that they want to portray a lighter skinned person and they're basically ousting darker skinned black people? And what do you think on her decision to swirl? Do you think it is a side effect of white supremacy, or it's just her decision? She can do what she wants to do. Let me know in the comments below. So comment, rate, subscribe, share, and as always, be blessed, and I'm out.